Welcome back or welcome to Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Eisve, and today we have a very exciting guest, Nalani, who's an executive coach. And we're going to talk a little bit more of very inspiring work that she does with leaders. And the theme of the podcast is how to become a better leader, how to show up as a full human being at work. Welcome, Nalani.
Thank you. So excited to be here with you.
So if we can jump straight into the topic, what are the main pain points that leaders face in their roles?
It's very varied. It's going to depend on the leader. But some of the common pain points we hear often, even just in the media, right, is things like burnout, is productivity. How do I do all of the different things that I'm tasked to do? How do I motivate my team? How do I build trust? How do I manage it all without burning out?
Yeah.
And one of the pieces that I think is talked about less in the media, but is a huge part of my work, is how do I show up as the leader I want to be while getting everything done that I want to get done and in the way that I want to do it. And leaders who are asking this question are the ones that are thinking about their humanity and the humanity of their teams in a way that it's not just a job to them. It's not just about showing up and saying, okay, I checked the box. I hit the metric. I delivered the project. It's about leadership being more than just the outcomes, but really about the humans that they're impacting on their team, their customers, really anyone that they're engaging with. And those leaders know that the way that they show up, not just what they do, but how they do it, is a huge, huge part of that recipe.
Something that you mentioned, like one of the things, burnout and so on.
Yeah.
I want to tap a little bit more into that, because do you see that? I think it's something that I noticed, and this is how I think about leadership. Sometimes it happens that we start to think nobody can do what we do. And I don't know how much of that you see. And I think, leaders are very important, but I think it's part of their role is like to develop the team who is there for them when they cannot fully show up for whatever's happening maybe in their life. How do you see that?
The healthiest leaders I know are the ones that are okay with them almost putting themselves out of a job because they have empowered their team in such a way that their team can step up and can do what they do, and sometimes better. It takes a lot of humility as a leader to hire someone that you know is better than you, even at a tactical task, let alone maybe someone who is better at the softer human skills, influencing, building trust, those things. So to me, that is really the healthiest version of leadership is lifting up the people around you such that you're not needed in the ways you were needed before. And then that can, if you can use the opportunity, allow you to step into a new type of leadership and a new type of work and say, okay, if my team can do all the things I was doing, what could that mean for what I could focus on? Could I be even more strategic? Could I think bigger? Could I think about areas for the business that we haven't had time to even dream about? That has huge impacts on the success of the business longer term when your team can rise up into the shorter and medium term focus that maybe you had to focus on before.
Can we, and I know there's not no black or white between good or bad, but can we define what's like healthy leadership, what you mentioned, and then a healthy leadership?
Yeah. So my definition of leadership is the daily act of taking responsibility for how you show up such that you inspire growth in others.
Wow.
And there's lots of definitions.
That's a big one.
A lot of people have different ideas of leadership. For me, it's really that. It's coming back to how we're doing what we're doing, not just what we're doing. And if we are living into that definition of leadership, we are then inspiring our teams and lifting them up and inspiring them to grow, not even just in the ways we think they should be growing, but in ways that we're inspiring them to want to grow in whatever is true for them.
So how does the work for a healthy leader start
Yeah.
when you start working with them? And you are mentioning quite a lot showing up as a full human being.
Yeah.
How do you see leaders usually see themselves in their leadership spots? And I know there are some blind spots that we a little bit discussed before starting the recording this podcast. How do you help them show up as like full human being? And like, where do they usually have like their blind spots to
Yeah.
start?
So all of us as humans have blind spots, right? You and I have
course.
talked about this.
Oh, of course.
And the process of working through those starts with self-connection. It starts with slowing down and noticing what's going on inside. It could be the voices in your head. It could be the emotions you're feeling. It could be the triggers, the things that are really setting you off, where you notice you get really, really angry.
Yeah.
And the more you can build awareness to notice those things, the more you can create change if you want to. And so to me, healthy leadership really starts with turning inside and developing the muscle, the same way we'd go to the gym to build our muscles. It's the emotional muscle of noticing what's happening for us, and also the somatic muscle, noticing what's happening in our body. Because emotions are tied. Emotions happen in our bodies. We all think that emotions maybe happen in our head, but if we really build that muscle, we can notice, oh, when I feel anger, my stomach feels all like tight. And when I feel sadness, oh, my chest, like it kind of feels this weight. And then we can start to notice patterns in ourselves. And then that relationship can turn into the ability to show up in the moment in really healthy ways, where we can also notice, oh, I just lost my cool in that meeting. But if the sooner you can notice, the sooner you can find yourself, and maybe it's apologize. Maybe it's say, hey, I need 5 minutes and can we pick this up after? That is where we are taking responsibility for how we show up.
Yeah. I love that. And I know it's not an easy work. First, when you start, because I think, if I look at myself a couple of years back, I think we are used to like, oh, this is a situation, this is the person, this is why I'm getting mad, right?
Yeah, blame.
And then, and then at some point, showing up, what you're calling, like, to me is the same. I'm like, oh, whatever is happening around me, the effect that I'm feeling is my reaction to it. It's not actually the situation that is there. But it's a very big step of taking full responsibility of your life.
Yeah.
And what would you say? Because like now what I'm hearing is kind of like what you said, a healthy leadership, but I would also add a conscious leadership.
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where do you see that happens? Is it because the person wants to become a better leader? Is it the main driver? Or is it because they kind of see that they want to become a better human? Or is it more like a development of the role that leads them becoming a better human?
It usually starts when the way that people have been doing things stops working, and they've hit a point where they know something needs to change.
Yeah.
So for some people, sure, it might be, oh, I really want to step into this new leadership role and I want to do it well, and it starts from that place. But more often than not, it's going to start from a place of some type of pain, of saying, I am on the verge of burnout, or I'm carrying too much, or I got really hard feedback that my team doesn't trust me, or whatever it may be. But I usually describe that transition point as the point where the way we've been doing things, the cost of the way we've been doing things is becoming greater than the benefits. And for all of us as humans, the way that we show up and the way we bring behaviors into the world and react to things, we keep doing it because it has some benefit to us. Whether it's, our morning habits, where someone says, hey, I want to start meditating in the morning, and they try and then it falls off, right? Like, how many times have we all tried new habits and then we're like, it's not working? That's just a tiny example of, we say we want something different, but until the cost of whatever else is happening is too big, we won't actually make a change most of the time. And so for leaders, when there's so much going on, the stakes are so high,
Mm-hmm.
you're balancing things at work and things at home, whatever life is outside of work, there isn't often time to pause and say,
Yeah.
I want to be doing things differently. And so there's really that point where it feels like, okay, something has to change. I can't keep doing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the trigger for someone then asking, okay, what are other ways? And then can begin a conversation of what's really needed. And might not use the language of healthy leadership at the beginning, but that's often the direction that it goes.
Yeah. So usually, as you said, it's at the verge of a burnout
Yeah.
or having a big amount of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something what Tony Robbins says as well, that like we usually start to shift how we see things when we have reached the threshold of the pain that we can surpass. So it's beautiful to hear that. But usually that happens in the work environment, right? So they having the challenges at work and they're like, I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
How do I make a shift?
Yeah.
And we talked about this as well. And I want to tap a little bit more. So they reach this point where like everything just becomes too much.
Yeah.
You give the space for them to kind of like pause, reflect.
Yeah, a lot of coaching is slowing down and pausing. Yeah.
That's amazing to hear, because I do believe that as coaches, like I'm a professional free diver, so I understand the importance of like nervous system in high pressure environments.
Yeah, you more than almost anyone.
Yeah, but then a lot of us, we think that like we need to pressure ourselves more to perform better.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like going backwards. It will work until a certain time.
Yes.
Until you crack, I crack, or any other person. And this is what I have noticed and what you mentioned as well. And I want to tap more into that sometimes in the high leadership roles, in high stake environments, the humanity level kind of like disappears.
Yeah.
Because we need to
keep going.
Yeah. How do you bring that back when the stakes are high and the person is like, I have to keep going, I have to keep pushing?
Yeah.
How to actually like bring that person back into themselves and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I have time to reflect, and that's actually, I have time to rest, and that's actually bringing me better results.
Yeah.
And I show up better with the team. And
a question I like to ask my clients in this situation, when their answer is like, no, I just have to keep going, is how would you know that you really had to pause or that it was too much? Because we keep saying like, we have to keep going, we have to keep going. And usually that stops people in their tracks to say, and I've had a client before say, when I'm in the hospital.
I wanted to say this because I used to be that person. I would stop. I was like, when I'm in the hospital, because then my body is not able to move anymore.
Right.
And then I need to like start over.
Right. Which, I mean, that isn't an answer.
It is an answer.
But my next question is that the threshold that you want for that question?
Exactly, right?
And usually the answer, like once someone says that out loud, they can usually pretty quickly notice, like,
figure it out.
Okay, maybe that's not quite the answer that I want. And so that's a moment of pause, right? Even just that.
It's awakening.
Yeah. And so it's not that with my clients, it's not that like we have to slow down all the time. And sometimes people will say like, we need to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a lot of what we're talking about, which is, I mean, in your world, you want performance. You have a goal. This isn't just like a light thing, like, let's like do something else.
Let's see if it's going to happen.
And a lot of leadership, especially in startups and tech, which is where a lot of my clients work, the stakes feel very, very high, even if it's not free diving and there isn't a body risk involved.
But the stakes are really, really high.
Emotionally, also the stakes are very high. And so it's often about just finding one or two questions. If someone feels like I can't pause, I can't stop, to help them see that are the stakes high enough that truly, like, is that the answer that you want to be in the hospital? Or what if we spend 10 minutes right now, like pausing and asking, like, what do you really want? How are you today? With my clients, that's one of the main things when people start working with me that they learn is the whole, hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Doesn't fly for me. even if the only thing we do in an hour, or maybe we end the session early, is I want to know how you actually are.
Yeah.
Because most people are not pausing to say, how are you really today?
Yeah.
And even just that can be enough to interrupt someone's autopilot for their entire day of meetings, to bring them back a little bit of self-connection, because you have to think to give an
Yeah.
answer, right? Rather than, hi, how are you? Good, I'm fine,
You
good.
have to reflect what you're actually feeling,
Yeah,
which we don't
we
do
don't do
a
very
lot of times throughout the day. We
No.
just function.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the human part disappears, because you are driven by KPIs,
Yeah.
by goals,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And something else that really stops me in the tracks when I hear that, leaders feel very lonely.
Yeah.
They usually say, like, we have to be there for our team, for all of the not even professional, but like personal struggles as well. And they're like, there's nobody that I can relate to in the team or in the corporation or even outside. And I think from there, kind of like it makes them even separate more, because they feel like this is not something that I can communicate and connect with other humans. So I think work with you really shows them that like there's this whole world of the leadership. So I think it's very magical for them to finally uncover that they're not there by themselves, trying to find the light in the dark.
And it can be really hard to find a person like that in your work environment. And then for a lot of us, the people we work with, or the people outside of our work, friends, family, whatnot, don't always understand our work life. And so then it can be like, okay, there's really no one who I can talk to who gets it.
Yeah.
And so I really consider my work to be a gift when people are feeling that loneliness and don't know who to turn to, but know that they want something to change and want to work on showing up differently. It's really an honor to get to that work.
Yeah. And I know it's like the work that you do, and you mentioned a little bit that like tapping into like what they're feeling, and it's like building this emotional capacity, and I think you called it emotional vocabulary, right?
Yeah, the same way that we learn vocabulary as children, or whatever our native language is.
Yeah.
Building a vocabulary of words of emotions is a thing on its own that most of us don't learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, even though I know I want to do like a separate episode on it. But I love the title that you have, is that I work with humans with big job, but also small kids.
Yeah.
And this is where we're kind of like finding the bridge as well of like, if we bring that humanity, our human part into the work that we have kids, it's also helping us to bring that small parts of ourselves. How do you see that?
Yeah.
I know it's a deep question. So take your time, don't worry.
When we can acknowledge that the full spectrum of what we experience inside of us, and if we have the language for it around emotional vocabulary, to feel like, okay, part of me is feeling really angry right now because I don't agree with the leadership goals that we have. And another part of me is feeling like I really miss my kids during my workday and I wish I could be with them right now. Another part of me is feeling really excited for that dinner I have planned later. And that that range where you could think that those things couldn't coexist, but they really can. When we can acknowledge that we can feel all those things at once, it's much easier for us to acknowledge that other people can feel that too. So people on our teams, maybe someone had a death in the family, and yet they're still really excited for something that's happening at work. We can hold their humanity through that lens of saying, I know what it's like for me to be both deep in grief and still excited about another part of life at the same time. And then the same goes for folks who are parents. When we're teaching our children about what it means to feel emotions, sometimes big ones, sometimes little ones, it's easier if we know how to identify it in ourselves. It's easier to hold them when they haven't yet learned how to work with emotions and are having tantrums because they don't understand what they're feeling inside. And it can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the biggest gift that we can give both to our kids and to our teams is learning to regulate ourselves. And that starts with being able to identify, what am I feeling?
Yeah. Do you think it also like really depends on the work culture that we work at? Because now I'm thinking like if I have somebody who's in leadership or if I'm in leadership, I'm gonna trust them more if I see their humane part. If like some days they're like, okay, it's been a tough day or like something happened, you know, but they like acknowledge or they're like, oh, I have been sick, so I'm like, I'm not fully myself today. I'm like, okay, you know, I have this compassion. I'm like, I have this understanding. But I also do believe that like we sometimes, you know, if we think about heroes and leaders are like a little bit of a hero, right? We're always like, they're always strong. They're like always like ready. They never get hurt, or if they do, they bounce back so fast. So do you think that like this is where we get this like idea? Does it come from work environment? Does it come from us watching movies that we think that like leaders have to be this idyllic person who doesn't have pain or you know, like it's fun to think that, but like I do think that like sometimes we look up at like leadership that like they have all of this threshold that they carry at work, so we cannot allow space for their personal life to step in because maybe it will overtake the importance of their work.
It's funny when I think of heroes like in the movies, like the 2 hours of a movie is a very limited time where you experience the perfection of this hero. And the reality of leadership is it's across so much more time and so many more scenarios and environments. And so I'm like, as you were saying that, I was thinking to like, Marvel movies or movies with heroes. And I'm like, if it was like a 7-hour movie, I almost think I might be bored. I don't know if bored is the right word, but bored if I just watched this like perfect hero do everything right, say all the right things. I think my trust level would go like down, and maybe my interest level of kind of like, well, no, is that even possible? Like, can any human for 7 hours be perfect? And so when I think of leaders, you're under a microscope, kind of in the same way like a movie, right? Like people are looking at you.
It's a very good analogy.
But it's not. I don't want to say it's as intense. It's not as intense as a movie, but it's just over so much more time that other humans are very perceptive and can know that it is impossible for any of us to be perfect across weeks and months and years when we work with people for even longer. And so it really comes down to trust in everything that I see with my clients and in my own leadership experiences, that the longer we hold up the facade of like, I have the answer to every question, I know what I'm doing, I know it all, the less and less our teams trust us, because they know in their own humanity that that's actually impossible. And so the healthiest leaders, most authentic leaders are the ones who can also see that and say, okay, maybe it is my job to often have the answers. But when I don't, if I try and lie about it, that's actually going to degrade trust. And that works against, being human, right? Because trust is inherently a human, it's a point of human connection. Right?
I think it's the most important thing that we built in the connection.
It's hard work.
It is hard work, right? Yeah. And sometimes like you're thinking how to build the trust like downstream, but also upstream. And it's kind of like, such a different land to navigate. So how would you say a leader could show up better, connected with themselves more, and show up, I would say, in full integrity, even when like mistakes happen? Not everything is going as great as in that spiral movie, because it's life. So how they can take the first step to like check in with themselves, like, like slow down and so on, but like what would be the practical tool that they can do?
So the first thing is noticing what you're feeling. So that
Mhm.
comes back to the emotions vocabulary we talked about. And a quick search, there's lots of lists online or something called a feelings wheel that can give you some of that vocabulary if you're like, I have no idea what I'm feeling. And I say that because we have to know what's happening inside before we can translate it to talk about it outside. So if
Mhm.
we're in a meeting and we don't have the answer, we wish we did, it's the advice I would give is not just, okay, here's what to say in this situation, to be a more human leader. It's first you have to connect to yourself. Otherwise, you're not actually starting from a human place. You're going to start from a textbook, or you're going to start from, like a list of questions that if someone feels like you're just like reading from a textbook when you respond to them, like that's the opposite of what we're talking about. But if we can start from a place of like, oh, I'm really noticing I wish that I had the answer to that right now. And I'm feeling frustrated that I don't, or I'm feeling disappointed that I don't. We might not feel ready to say that out loud,
Mhm.
right? That might feel way too vulnerable to say to our team, I really wish I knew the answer right now and I don't.
Mhm.
I'm going to go get the answer for you. But that's where we can get to when we start with the self-connection of first saying that to ourselves. And maybe it's months or sometimes even years later where we'll get to the point where we feel comfortable saying something like that out loud to say, hey, I wish I knew the answer to that. I am going to do everything I can to get you the answer by the end of the week. Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
But sometimes we're just not ready for that yet. And so just starting with saying that thing to ourselves to really tune into what are we feeling, that's the first step.
So checking in with the emotional state
Yeah.
that we have. Got it. I would love to go even more because I feel like the topic we're just like
Little pieces.
yeah, just like getting into it. But I'm gonna leave the emotional state parts work, like really the
Yeah.
integrational work that you do with leaders for the next episode. But it has been very insightful. I think that any leader who's gonna listen to this, conversations like that help them to understand that like I can feel those uncomfortable feelings
Yeah.
and that's okay. And that I can communicate that
Yeah.
not only in my
Yeah.
little head communication, but like also with my team. And that
Yeah.
in a sense, it just sounds like, oh, it's so easy to be human, right?
Mm.
You just like feel it and express it.
It's not.
But I think, yeah, we learned that like we try to shield and protect ourselves and we
Yeah.
have these different scenarios, how we should show up and be. So thank you a lot
you.
for sharing this. Any final thoughts that you want to share?
We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
There's so much more of where we could go with this, but I think the essence of being human, I just want to say the essence of being human is really complicated and really hard.
Yeah.
And so if there were simple answers, we wouldn't be having a podcast like this, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's journey is a little unique. So some can self-study and learn these things on their own to an immense, deep level. Others need support. Sometimes that's in therapy. Sometimes it's coaching. Sometimes it's a best friend who you could talk about these things with. Sometimes it's listening to podcasts like this, right? So whatever someone's journey is perfect.
Yeah.
And just really wanting to acknowledge for all of us how complicated doing the inner work of being human is.
That's wonderful. And I love that you said that like to some people it will take a week, a month, years. And as you said, everybody has their own unique journey and it's perfect as it is.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot to everybody for tuning in. Ask your questions in the comment section so we can see them. And like and subscribe. And we're going to see you in the next episode.